Hi, my name is Eli Napoltz, and the reading that I chose to do for week 3 for the class Economics and Films was Dirty Profits, and this was produced by the Facing Finance campaign. So, Dirty Profits really talks about different companies and financial institutions that are being criticized for poor environmental, social, and governance performance by stakeholders such as courts, politicians, regulators, NGOs, local communities, and the media. So, really, those that are investing in these different companies, whether it be for their own benefit, usually for their own benefit, that are really violating a lot of different environmental laws, national laws, international laws, um, things that are creating environmental damage, companies that are creating environmental damage, as well as climate change, and also breaking human and community rights. A lot of these different companies are receiving the investments are trying to partake in these corporate social responsibility programs or CSR programs to address some of the problems that are being caused. And this is just selective and voluntary. A lot of times these companies are just doing this to make it look better on their part. It's not really, changing the environmental problems that they're creating or the child labor problems that they're creating or the international laws that they're breaking. So the Facing Finance campaign is all about trying to get investors not to invest in companies which profit from human rights violations, environmental pollution, corruption in the production and or exportation of weapons. It's been determined that human rights are very much a part of long-term development and sustainability. Um, Discrimination and environmental pollution are both major structural causes of poverty, and violations have played a major part in the underwhelming world's social and economic development. There's also very sufficient evidence that these corporate companies and multinational companies are responsible for a lot of different things. Um, there's sufficient evidence that these companies are partaking in serious and systematic human rights violations, such as forced labor, deprivation of liberty, child labor, and other child exploitation. Many different individual human rights. A lot of times in situations of war and conflict, these companies are creating severe environmental damage, gross corruption, production and exportation of weapons that violate fundamental humanitarian principles. This case study looked at a lot of different companies and a lot of different individual cases, but I'm just going to point out two more well-known companies that were highlighted within the article. One being the Coca-Cola Company, and the other being Samsung Electronics. So Coca-Cola is being accused of having facilities that have destroyed lives, livelihoods, and communities. Coca-Cola is accused of causing water shortages, pollution of groundwater and soil, and exposure to toxic waste and pesticides. Coca-Cola dominates about 95% of the soft drink market. And the India Resource Center determined that 70% of its countries relies on agriculture, and about Coca-Cola needs about 3 liters of water to create about 1 liter of their product. And 75% of that water then becomes wastewater. And Coca-Cola has been discharging it into surrounding fields, polluting the groundwater. And this has become extremely dangerous to local populations around these facilities, especially in India, because local populations can't get the fresh drinking water that they need. The Central Pollution Control Board also found levels of lead and chromium in the groundwater. So not only are they putting out this bad water, it also has some really, really, really bad stuff in it that could really harm the surrounding population. And one really interesting thing about Coca-Cola is that they've actually been funding water projects in India as part of marketing campaigns to improve its image. So they're continuing to put all this bad water into the surrounding areas, and they're trying to run a campaign to make themselves look better so that it kind of hides the fact that they are polluting in the areas surrounding them. And that's, one of the major problems with Coca-Cola, especially in India, in that region. The second company is Samsung, and Samsung is accused of using highly poisonous substances for um, a lot of the production of a lot of their different products. Um, and a lot of the substances are really harming a lot of their employees, and they're also being accused of a lot of different child labor violations. A South Korea organization found that about 140 of the former employees in one South Korean facility um, were came down with cancer as an illness or other life-threatening illnesses. Um, this can be traced back to different chemicals that have been found in their production lines, like benzene, formaldehyde, arsenic, and even a lot of different radioactive material. And where this really gets a little scary is that Samsung is a huge violator of child labor laws, and they've even been known to put former adult employees' names on the badges of child workers that they have coming in. And they're actually recruiting these child workers through a lot of the local schools, because these schools are saying that these children um, need to go through this labor too, as part of their education. So Samsung is actually recruiting these child laborers from surrounding educational areas. Now, a final part that this article talks about would be a lot of recommendations that they would have, and I'm only going to highlight 4 of them. But a lot of this is talking to the investors and the people that are putting money into these companies. The first one would be a commitment to a binding sustainability approach, and this would just be the investors knowing the impact that their money has. So knowing what their money is going for when they're investing in the company, and not just blindly giving money to the company. The second one would be what they call do not harm, and this would be to abolish investments into the arms industry, into the coal industry, and also into the extraction of fossil fuels. So staying away from the dangerous situations that weapons can cause, as well as for the in dangerous situations for the environment that the coal industry and the extraction of fossil fuels put out. The third one would be the commitment to accountability and transparency. And this would be financial institutions being transparent to their stakeholders about what exactly they're doing, what's going on, and not hiding some of the different conditions that they're creating in a lot of their overseas workplaces, or exactly what they're doing with their money. And the final one is a commitment to remedy, and that's ensuring that there's adequate consultation process for affected communities. So not just leaving, not just Coca-Cola leaving the India region and leaving all those people there with the damage that they've already done, but providing an adequate way for to fix the areas that have already been affected. Overall, this was a very interesting article. Um, really, really interesting to see that there are entities out there that aren't just going after these companies. They're going at what makes these companies run, and the investors, which is a different side of what we really see when we're used to talking about a lot of environmental conditions, as well as climate change and even child labor laws. So that's it. Hope you guys learned something. Again, my name is Eli Naples, and this is for Economics and Film. Thank you.